Margaret Owens had spent her entire life working hard. At 68 years old, she was a retired professor, a successful investor, and an entrepreneur who quietly supported countless young black scholars through her foundation. Despite her success, she never boasted about her wealth. She wore comfortable shoes, carried a worn leather bag, and had a grace that turned heads, though she never tried to. On this particular day, she was flying from Atlanta to San Francisco for a charity gala. She'd booked a first-class ticket, as she always did, on long flights. It was her one splurge, comfortable, quiet, and well-deserved. But as she approached the first-class cabin with her boarding pass in hand, the flight attendant blocked her path. "I'm sorry, ma'am, first class is for priority guests," the woman said with a tight smile. Margaret raised an eyebrow and calmly handed over her ticket. "That's me." The attendant frowned, barely glancing at the boarding pass. "Ma'am, maybe you meant business class or economy. You must be mistaken." Passengers in line stared, whispers, snickers. One man chuckled and said, "She probably picked up the wrong ticket off the floor." Margaret's voice remained calm. "My name is Margaret Owens. I believe you owe me a seat." But the attendant didn't budge. "I'm going to need to ask you to step aside while we sort this out." Rather than make a scene, Margaret sighed, stepped aside, and let everyone board. She took a seat in economy, despite paying thousands for her first-class seat. When she landed, she didn't argue. She didn't rant. She made a phone call. You see, Margaret wasn't just rich, she was connected. She was part of a private equity firm that had been quietly eyeing struggling transportation companies. And as fate would have it, the airline she flew on that day was deep in debt. 6 months later, headlines exploded across the news. Margaret Owens acquires majority stake in Skyjet Airlines. Employees were stunned, executives were fired, new training programs were launched, diversity, equity, and inclusion became top priorities. And that flight attendant? Well, she was called in for a meeting with the new owner. Margaret didn't fire her. She simply said, "Let this be a lesson. Never judge someone by what you think they can't afford. You don't know their story, only your own ignorance." Moral of the story: respect is free, prejudice is expensive. Never underestimate someone based on how they look. You never know who you're really dealing with.